Hi, I'm Simon from Astro and welcome to our night sky guide for the month of March 2026. We've just finished up our last event for the month of February here at the Danby Lodge Dark Skies Station, a brand new purpose-built facility for astronomy and educational events here in the North York Moors. It's an amazing facility and we were thrilled to have been invited here to hold a string of events during the annual North York Moors Dark Skies Festival to launch this brand new observatory. We've had a fantastic time throughout the festival, and we'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone that has attended one of our stargazing experiences throughout this February. You are all stars. Don't worry if you didn't manage to make it here during the festival, we'll be holding many more events here in the future, and you can find more details and make a booking on our website. While our nights are rapidly becoming shorter, March is still a great time to do some stargazing. March hosts the spring or vernal equinox. It's a great time to see the zodiacal light towards the west in the early evening, and this month also sees the much anticipated return of the Milky Way core, so there's plenty to look forward to throughout this March. And without further ado, let's dive in.
Sunrise and sunset times throughout March will be as follows. On the 1st, the sun will rise at 6:57 am and set at 5:47 pm. On the 11th, the sun will rise at 6:33 am and set at 6:06 pm. On the 21st, the sun will rise at 6:09 am and set at 6:24 pm, and on the 31st, the sun will rise at 6:45 am and set at 7:42 pm. Moon phases now. The moon reached first quarter on the 24th of February and will start the month of March as a waxing gibbous. Full moon will be on the 3rd, last quarter will be on the 11th, new moon will be on the 19th, and first quarter will be on the 25th. As usual, the moon will be paying some close visits to other celestial objects this month, and these meetings will be discussed in more detail in our highlights section. For all the aurora chasers, although the nights are rapidly becoming shorter, March is still an excellent time to enjoy the northern lights. One great thing about March is that this month hosts the spring or vernal equinox, and historical research has shown that the times around the equinoxes are more likely to produce geomagnetic storms. There is also unfortunately a downside to the equinox, in that after the equinox, our nights will rapidly become shorter and brighter, meaning it will be much harder to spot the aurora. Let's all keep our fingers crossed for more great displays, and if you'd like to be kept in the loop with regular updates and alerts for possible aurora displays, please follow our Facebook page. For Milky Way fanatics, March is a very exciting time indeed, as this month sees the return of the Milky Way core. The winter Milky Way, along with the west-facing Milky Way arch, is still visible in the early evening skies, and as the month progresses, the Milky Way core can be seen rising towards the south in the early hours just before sunrise. Onto general nighttime sights now. Looking towards the north throughout March, the inconspicuous constellation Lynx and the iconic Ursa Major are high in the sky near the zenith in the middle of the night. The constellations of Bootes, Corona Borealis, Hercules, and Serpens Caput can be seen rising in the east. Lyra, Cygnus, and Lacerta can be seen peaking above the northern horizon, with Draco, Ursa Minor, Cepheus, Cassiopeia, and Camilla Pardalis above, and Andromeda, Triangulum, and Aries can be seen setting in the west, with Perseus following behind. Looking south, the zodiacal constellations of Cancer and Leo are now very prominent high in the sky, with the faint constellation of Leo Minor above and the long snaking constellation of Hydra below. The asterism known as the Winter Circle or Winter Hexagon, including all the famous winter constellations including Auriga, Taurus, Orion, and Gemini, along with the lesser known winter constellations of Canis Minor, Monoceros, and Canis Major, are still visible but steadily sinking towards the west, and towards the east, the zodiacal constellation of Virgo can now be seen rising along with the inconspicuous constellations Corvus and Crater. General bright planet viewing now. If you want to observe the speedy and often elusive planet Mercury in March, your best chance will be at the very start of the month, in the post-sunset twilight towards the western horizon. Mercury will travel too close to the Sun to be observable shortly after the start of the month, reaching inferior conjunction on the 7th. As the month progresses, Mercury will move further away from the Sun, but will remain almost impossible to spot, appearing very low on the horizon moments before sunrise. Mercury starts the month in Pisces and ends the month in Aquarius. The super bright evening planet Venus becomes much easier to spot throughout March, setting around 70 minutes after the Sun on the 1st, and at the end of the month will set almost 2 hours after the Sun. Venus starts March only just within the borders of Aquarius before moving across Pisces and ending the month in Aries. The red planet Mars remains too close to the Sun to be observable throughout March and will remain so for a few more months to come. Mars remains in Aquarius throughout the whole month. Although the best time to view Jupiter was back in January, March will still be an excellent time to observe the super bright gas giant, and particularly so for early night observers. Jupiter remains in Gemini throughout March. If you want to observe Saturn this March, the best time to do so will be at the start of the month, as the ring planets will travel too close to the Sun to be observable halfway through the month. However, there will also be a great opportunity to spot Saturn nearby to Venus on the 8th. Saturn remains in Pisces throughout March. Okay, let's begin looking at our highlights for the month of March. There's a great selection of celestial events this month, and kicking off the month will be the almost full moon visiting the bright star Regulus. In the early morning and the early evening of the 2nd of March, the 98% illuminated waxing gibbous moon will appear close by to Regulus, the brightest star of the constellation Leo. Look to the west in the early morning hours just before sunrise, or to the east in the early evening after sunset to see the pair at their closest. The day of the 3rd hosts the full moon of March, which is known to some as the worm moon. The exact moment the moon will be at its most illuminated will be at around 11:17 am, when it is below the horizon. This means that the moon will appear at its fullest in the early morning of the 3rd. However, don't worry if you don't get to see the moon then, the moon will still appear full on adjacent nights too. On the evening of the 6th, the 87% illuminated waning gibbous moon will appear close by to Spica, the brightest star of the constellation Virgo. Look to the southeast at around 10 PM to see the pair rising above the horizon together. In the early evening of the 8th, the super bright planet Venus will appear close by to the amazing ring planet Saturn. Look towards the western horizon just after sunset for a chance to observe this pairing. In the early morning of the 10th, the 61% illuminated waning gibbous moon will appear close by to Antares, the brightest star of the constellation Scorpius. Look to the southeast at around 2 AM to see the pair rising above the horizon together. On the 19th of March, the moon will reach its new phase, leaving the skies free from natural light pollution. This means the nights on and around the 19th will be ideal for viewing faint objects in the night sky and/or taking photographs of the night sky. The day of the 20th of March will be the Northern Hemisphere spring or vernal equinox. On this day, the sun will rise exactly to the east and set exactly in the west, and every country on Earth will experience roughly the same amount of daytime and nighttime. The spring equinox marks the astronomical change of season from winter to spring, and from this moment onwards, every following day until the autumn equinox next September, daytime will be longer than nighttime. In the early evening of the 20th, an extremely thin 3% illuminated waxing crescent moon will appear close by to the super bright planet Venus. Look to the western horizon just after sunset to observe this pairing. On the night of the 24th, the 40% illuminated waxing crescent moon will appear close by to the bright star Elnath of the constellations Auriga and Taurus. Look to the west at around 11:30 PM to observe the pair at their closest. On the night of the 26th, the 61% illuminated waxing gibbous moon will appear close by to the gas giant Jupiter and the bright star Pollux of the constellation Gemini. The trio will appear close together all night, but will appear at their closest at around 8:30 PM towards the southwest, when the trio will create a straight line formation. In the early morning of the 28th, the 74% illuminated waxing gibbous moon will appear close by to the Beehive cluster. The Beehive cluster will be very hard to spot with such a bright moon, and a pair of binoculars or a telescope will be of help. The pair will appear close throughout the night, but will appear at their closest as they near the horizon in the early morning hours. Look to the northwest horizon at around 3:30 AM, and you may also be able to observe the moon partially occulting the cluster. Although this next highlight isn't an observable celestial event, it is still a moment worth taking note of. In the early morning of the 29th, daylight savings will come into effect as British summertime begins. This means at 1 AM on the 29th, The clocks will move forward 1 hour to 2 AM as Greenwich Mean Time, also known as Universal Time, changes to British Summer Time. So on the night of the 28th, make sure to change any mechanical clocks in your home forwards 1 hour and make sure to go to bed an hour earlier. And our final highlight for the month of March will take place in the early evening of the 29th, when the 88% illuminated waxing gibbous moon will travel in front of the bright star Regulus, blocking it from view. This occultation will occur during daylit skies and so will require the aid of a telescope to observe. The moon will travel in front of Regulus at roughly 7:15 PM, and it will take roughly an hour for Regulus to reappear from behind the moon. So that wraps up another month, and as you can see, there's plenty to look forward to throughout the month of March. If you liked this video and found it useful, please make sure to press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a comment in the comment section below, and feel free to follow us on our socials on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, if you head out to enjoy the night sky at any point in the near future, we wish you good luck and clear skies.